And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Altered Mac. I think it was Altered Mac or Altered Mark. Either way, Alter, you asked the question, who would fight Yamcha from Dragon Ball Z versus Kevin Levin from the Ben 10 series? Now, I know there is a rebooted Ben 10 series. Quite frankly, A, that Kevin Levin would not win. And B, I didn't watch that series, so I can't speak towards it. I did watch the first three Ben 10 series. Technically, first two, Ultimate Alien and Alien Force, are just the same show, more or less. And I saw a little bit of Omniverse here or there. But you asked who would win the fight between these guys. Now, should know, I'll address the mutated forms of Kevin, but we'll basically just be kind of looking at Kevin as it stands. That said, though, Yamcha, human martial artist, was a desert bandit for the longest time. Then actually, gave up those ways, became pupil of Turtle School, became Master Roshi's greatest pupil ever, and saved the world time and time again. Not even Goku could stand up to him. He revered this man, Goku did. Sorry, I'm talking about Goku over Yamcha. Yamcha, unfortunately, became the quick butt of everyone's joke. And for some good reason, to be honest, even Krillin is actually dubbed the strongest human. He is, by the creator's own words, the strongest human in the series. Unfortunately, Yamcha isn't even number 4 or 5 at this point. I don't know. He's probably stronger than Chiaotzu. But he is probably he's the weakest pure human there is. He's weaker than Roshi, let's be honest. And that's only because Roshi secretly kept training. But that said, how strong, relatively speaking, is Yamcha? We can't use power levels because even if we had a power level for Yamcha, it's not a gauge of how strong he really is in terms of the overall series. Excuse me one second. Sorry, I was checking my pulse there for a second. It's warm up here, even with a fan on. So we have to kind of get an idea of how to scale him past the general, past the known power level we have for him and what we know your people are capable of at those levels of power. Yamcha, the peak of Yamcha's power more than likely came around the Android saga, because that's the last time he actually ever trained relatively seriously. Otherwise, he was either slacking or he just didn't train at all, and instead went and made a baseball career, a good baseball career for himself, because, being superpowered helps with that. Ooh. Now, that said, where does he stand roughly in the Android saga? Again, power level wise, I'm not going to bother. But he's looks. All the Z fighters, with maybe the exception of Chiaotzu, have the potential to destroy a planet. Because we know that Raditz and we know that Nappa, Goku, hell, even Roshi back in Dragon Ball were planet busters, technically speaking. Roshi only in his buff form, which is much stronger than his base, but still. So we know that Yamcha's power is well beyond the Saiyan Saga levels of power, well beyond that. So Yamcha himself has to be someone who's capable of destroying a planet. We know he has the Kamehameha. He knows a Wolf Fang Fix, which is just basically a type of, striking style. He can fly. He can move at relativistic light speed, but even by, all the other fighter standards, he's not that fast. I mean, yeah, he can disappear in a blink of an eye, but still, it's compared to everyone else, not that fast. Except for Roshi, who can't fly, which is hilarious in my mind. That Roshi, after all these years, still never learned how to fly. But Yamcha always got the raw end of the deal, and for good reason. Again, he's kind of an arrogant character. Undeservingly so. Sorry, I'm looking over terminology here. Sorry, I'm moving around a bit, just getting a bit more comfortable. Just because he thought he was hot, hot stuff, and it's like, no, you're not really not hot stuff. It's like karma comes and smacks him right in the face. But he never kind of stays down for too long. He's always got a chipper demure, looking for the next best thing. So yeah, that's Yamcha. Again, a skilled martial artist, definitely. Kevin Levin is actually a subspecies of human. He's not an alien. He's a subspecies of human known as, I believe, an Osmosian. Now, Osmosian's powers vary from individual to individual, but there are general powers that, not general powers, but there is what's the best sentence for me to say it? Common powers among among them. Like, there's a common type of power among many of them besides having unique abilities. Kevin's allows him to absorb matter and energy. Kevin usually needs a lot of it, a lot of a substance around to actually change his biological makeup. Otherwise, you're usually coating himself in a thin sheet of whatever he's touching. But he can touch pretty much anything and take on the properties of that. Again, be it either a small amount of it to cover himself up, or he can take like a crystal shard and basically just transform his hand to a crystal shard, and he can morph that however he wishes. He's capable of even touching liquid and turning the liquid. He can touch a lot of a substance and turn into the substance, and he can absorb energy as well. He can also absorb the DNA of someone and take on the traits of those individuals. In Ben 10, he touched the Omnitrix and absorbed a lot of the DNA from the Omnitrix, and which gave him a lot of powers. Unfortunately, in the early series, it also effed him up biologically too. So he unfortunately turned into a mutation, which was a combination of all the powers, but only about 1/10 of the strength. There have been multiple interpretations of that from both Alien Force and the original series, and even the Ben 10,000, where it was Kevin 11,000, where he was basically like the future version of that. Sorry, snap my neck, loosen it up. So Kevin's a pretty smart guy, all things considered, and he's a decent fighter. He's a brawler. But if you're going to ask me, who wins in this fight? If we're just going by Kevin base form, Yamcha's kicking his ass. Because Yamcha is legitimate trained martial arts, already making him a superior fighter. So the fight starts off, Yamcha just rushes him too fast for Kevin to really react to. Now, Kevin, being an Osmosian, is a little stronger than your average human and a lot more durable. But Yamcha will still knock his ass out. And even if he's durable enough to survive that and absorb something to increase his durability, Yamcha would feel that and then just blast him with a Kamehameha, which would not be something Kevin is physically capable of taking. Even if Kevin were to take on a liquid form, Yamcha would just disperse that with an energy blast. And if Kevin tried to absorb Yamcha's DNA, all he'd get is human DNA, because Ki isn't genetic. It is something we all have, but only trained individuals can access it. Even Kevin has Ki. So Kevin, in theory, could start firing energy blasts if he trained in DBZ. Or if he were in DBZ and was training for that. But he can't, so he won't. If Yamcha were to go up against the mutated forms, it would definitely be a tougher fight for Yamcha. The problem is, with the exception of strength, which it said that even though all of his abilities were dwindled by 1/10, he was still able to beat out forms of strength, who physically is probably stronger than Yamcha, I'll say. That said, he'd still be able to, durability-wise alone, tank in a lot of the hits, and just dish out a lot more punches in the quick succession. Yes, he's got accelerate speed, but the speed, again, isn't quite the same level of speed that the actual Accelerate has, who moves at minimum at an average speed of 500 miles an hour, which is the record speed. It is also fast enough to dodge lightning, which is quite fast, but that doesn't matter, as literally Yamcha can just disappear, looks like he's dematerializing. Even the lowest level feats of the lowest level DBZ characters usually stack up higher than what you see in like the Ben 10 universe, with the exception of aliens like Atomics, Clockwork, obviously Alien X. Individuals like those are definitely on a higher tier than a lot of particularly Alien X is like well beyond most DBZ tier, if we're going to be honest. He's actually like near Omni King level tier, if not higher, actually. So yeah, Alien X is the one individual who is actually above most of Dragon Ball Z. But that said, Yamcha could almost certainly take on the majority of the mutated Kevin forms. But if those two duked out mutated forms to Yamcha, it would definitely be a much more varied fight, a much more interesting fight, because he'd probably be able to take a lot more damage from Yamcha than what Yamcha was already dishing out. And he'd be able to dish out more interesting techniques. Unfortunately, Yamcha just, despite the fact he's probably the weakest Z fighter minus Chaozu, he's still strong enough to take out either of these guys relatively quickly. Just from sheer speed and energy abilities alone. Plus, Yamcha has the one other technique I forgot to mention, where he can create a ball of energy and basically control its direction, which is something that Kevin would probably not initially know how to comprehend. Like the energy ball goes past him, he tries to go towards Yamcha. Yamcha just brings it back, lands smack in his head, knocks his ass out cold. So Yamcha to me takes this fight. It's weird. It is weird because I had Yamcha fight Spider-Man a while back, and little spoiler, Yamcha did pretty well against Spider-Man. Yamcha is like so low tier in his universe, it's not even funny. But you take a guy out of their universe and scale him to another universe, it becomes clear that he's quite powerful in other universes. Even in like a universe like Marvel or DC, Yamcha would still be a powerful individual in both those universes. He couldn't take on the heavy hitters, like he couldn't take on a Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, or Superman, but he could definitely go toe-to-toe with individuals like Cyborg and, quite frankly, the Flash, even though the Flash is ultimately much faster than Yamcha. So, yeah, I don't really have much else to say on it, except I give this fight to Yamcha, quite frankly. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas here would win, Star Wars, superhero magic, what if, anything to do on the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. Get to that at some point. I'll be back a little later with What If.